Egypt is joining the ICJ case against Israel. Let's talk about why that's important. Egypt and Israel have had normalization for 45 years now. The 1979 Camp David Accords, when Anwar Sadat and Menachem Begin signed normalization agreements, created a peace treaty between Israel and Egypt that created a symbiotic relationship in the Middle East. The normalization process was very important. It created a border crossing between the two and allowed for free trade between the two. At this point, Egypt and Israel trade more than anyone except for Israel and the United States and Israel and Turkey. As a result of this peace deal, Egypt receives a great deal of aid from the United States. They are second in aid recipients only to Israel. And the whole idea here is to make sure that there's a relationship between two of the major players in the region and that all there is peace between them. And I've seen how it works. I've crossed the border from Israel to Egypt. I've gone from Israel to the pyramids to go see, what Egypt was all about. And the money that Egypt receives is received for the purpose, in part, of keeping Israel secure. Take, for example, what happened on October the 7th. Egypt had warned Israel that this was going to happen. And Israel, or actually Netanyahu and his department, basically brushed it off, saying if it did happen, it really couldn't be that serious. So now Egypt is scrapping 45 years of diplomacy, the diplomacy that had Anwar Sadat assassinated and created a normalization that has continued since 1979, and they are joining the case against Egypt in the ICJ. And let's find out why. Egypt is not just joining, they're tacking on additional problems that they're having with Israel's behavior in Rafah. Now, this is self-serving. You have to understand that the Rafah border crossing was taken over by Israel. There's a piece of Egypt that's actually probably being occupied, and they've been bombing in Egypt for a period of time. It's only so long before somebody just gets sick of it. So the biggest way to put the middle finger into the face of Israel is to say, oh yeah? Okay, well, if you don't want to play nice anymore, then we're not going to play nice either. They're going to go ahead and they're going to make allegations to the ICJ that include specifically what's happening in Rafah, what's happening in the Rafah border crossing, and the failure to allow aid in. And instead of being coy about it, as they have been for the last 6 months, they're just going to go ahead and present the evidence that they have, which is plenty, probably because they were in on it with Israel when they did it. What does that mean? It means that warrants are probably coming from Netanyahu. It means that... Does it matter? No. It means that there's going to be more evidence at the ICJ. Does it matter? Really, I don't know. But at this point, it's clear to the world what's happening. And even the closest allies, and definitely the closest Arab ally to Israel, has now turned its back on it. Not because of what it's done to harm the Palestinian people, but Israel has finally overstepped the bounds of its relationship with Egypt by taking over the Rafah border crossing.